I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, one of those quiet suburbs where everyone knew each other, and every October, the whole street turned into a Halloween wonderland. Every house had pumpkins, spiderwebs, fake skeletons, and bowls of candy on porches. Except one. It was this one two-story house near the end of our block, grey paint peeling, porch light always off, blinds closed. Kids whispered that an old man lived there who hated Halloween. But nobody had ever seen him. That year, 2014, I was 16. My younger sister, Ellie, begged me to take her trick-or-treating because our parents were at a late Halloween party. We hit every house on the block, except the grey one. When we got to it, Ellie stopped and pointed. "Ellie, why does that house never have candy?" I told her some people just didn't celebrate. But as I said it, I noticed something. The front door was open just a crack. Curiosity got the best of me. I told Ellie to wait on the sidewalk while I went up to the door. When I pushed it open, it creaked like it hadn't been moved in years. "Hello." I called out. No answer. The air smelled like dust and something metallic, like rust or old blood. I could see faint candlelight flickering from deeper inside. That's when I noticed the walls. They were lined with dozens of framed photographs, all of children in Halloween costumes. But every single one of their faces was scratched out. I turned to leave, but the door I came through was now closed. "Ellie!" I shouted. No reply. I pulled at the door, but it wouldn't budge. The knob turned freely, but it was like it was jammed from the other side. That's when I heard footsteps. Slow, dragging footsteps from upstairs. I froze. My mind screamed to hide, but curiosity, that stupid teenage curiosity, made me look up. There was someone standing halfway down the stairs. They were wearing a mask, a cracked, old jack-o'-lantern mask. "Trick or treat," a voice rasped. It didn't sound playful. It sounded angry, like it was mocking the words. I stumbled back toward the door, slamming my shoulder against it until it flew open. I fell onto the porch and scrambled to my feet. Ellie was gone. I screamed her name over and over, running up and down the street, but there was no sign of her. Neighbors came out when they heard me yelling, and soon the police were there. They searched that house. Every room, every closet, every inch of the basement. No one was inside. And the strange part? The officers told me there were no photographs on the walls. None. A week later, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, I heard a soft child's giggle, Ellie's giggle, and then a man's voice whisper, "Trick or treat." The line went dead. That was 11 years ago. No one ever found my sister. Every Halloween since, I get a letter slipped under my door. No address, no stamp. Inside is a single photo of a child in costume, their face scratched out. And every year, the photo looks a little more like her. This happened to me 5 years ago in northern Illinois. I was 19, driving home from a Halloween party about 40 minutes outside town. The party had gone late, and by the time I left, it was nearly 2 a.m., the night before Halloween. My costume was simple, a black hoodie and fake blood mask stuffed in the passenger seat. The road was empty except for cornfields on both sides, miles of nothing but the occasional mailbox. As I rounded a bend, my headlights swept across a figure standing on the shoulder. At first, I thought it was a scarecrow someone had dragged out as a joke. But then it moved. The man was wearing a bright orange pumpkin suit, not a costume, but an actual full-body outfit that looked hand-sewn from pumpkin fabric, the face covered by a smooth pumpkin mask with a crude black smile. He raised one arm and pointed directly at my car. I drove past him fast, heart pounding. When I checked my rearview mirror, he was gone. No cars behind me. No driveways nearby. Just fog and corn. I told myself it was probably some drunk guy wandering home from a party, and kept going. A few miles later, I relaxed, until I saw something that made my stomach twist. On the side of the road ahead was another pumpkin-suited figure. Same outfit. Same mask. Same pointing gesture. This one was closer to the road, almost touching the white line. I hit the gas and didn't look back. When I finally reached the next gas station, I pulled over to breathe. It was open 24 hours, fluorescent lights buzzing, one guy behind the counter scrolling his phone. I told him what I'd seen. He looked at me blankly for a second, then said quietly, "You mean there were 2 of them this year?" He explained that every Halloween week, people had been reporting strange men in pumpkin suits appearing on rural roads. They never spoke, never chased anyone, just appeared and pointed. Police searched a few times but never found a trace. He told me not to drive that way home, take the interstate instead. So I did. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. Every time I glanced at the mirror, I expected to see orange flicker in the headlights. When I reached my apartment, the parking lot was empty except for my car and a few scattered leaves. I hurried up to my door and froze. Sitting on my doormat was a miniature pumpkin, carved with a crooked smile. Fresh, still wet inside, and underneath it, a folded note that read, "Thanks for the ride." I called the cops, but by the time they arrived, the pumpkin and the note were gone. There were no footprints, no camera footage, nothing. Every Halloween since, I find a new pumpkin on my doorstep. Always fresh, always carved differently, always smiling wider. I moved twice, changed cities, changed phone numbers. It doesn't matter. They always find me. This happened in 2018, when I was 22 and living alone in a small rental house outside Columbus, Ohio. Halloween was a big deal in our neighborhood. Families, decorations, kids running everywhere. That year I had to work late, so instead of handing out candy, I left a plastic cauldron full of fun-sized bars on my porch with a sign that said, "Take 2." When I pulled into the driveway around 11 p.m., the porch light was still on and the bowl was empty. I figured the kids cleaned me out, but as I got out of the car, I noticed something strange. The cauldron wasn't where I'd left it. It was at the bottom of the steps, cracked in half. Right beside it was a single candy bar, still in its wrapper, sitting perfectly in the center of the step. It looked placed. Inside, everything seemed normal. But when I went to lock the door, I saw muddy fingerprints on the handle, child-sized fingerprints. I wiped them off, told myself some kid probably dropped the bowl and tried to fix it. Then I noticed movement on my security camera app. Someone was on my porch. A figure stood just outside the frame, half hidden by the porch column. Small. Still. Just standing there. I froze. After a few seconds, the figure stepped fully into view. It was a little boy wearing an old-fashioned clown costume, ruffled collar, faded red dots down the chest. The weird part? His face wasn't painted. He was wearing an actual mask, hard plastic, the kind they made in the 1960s, blank white with a fixed grin. He leaned toward the camera, lifted the empty candy bowl into view, and whispered, "You forgot one." Then he walked out of frame. I called out through the door, no answer. When I opened it, the porch was empty again. No footprints, no candy bowl. Just the same single candy bar sitting on the step. I brought it inside without thinking. That was my mistake. I tossed it on the counter and went to change. When I came back a minute later, the candy bar was gone. In its place was a folded piece of paper, yellowed, edges crisp like it had been sitting for years. It said, in shaky handwriting, "Take 2." That night, I barely slept. Every few minutes I'd hear faint tapping, 3 slow knocks, always at a different window. When I finally got the courage to peek outside, the street was empty. But I could see something on my lawn. A trail of candy bars, each one unwrapped, leading toward the woods behind my house. I don't know why I followed it. Maybe I was half asleep. Maybe I needed proof I wasn't losing it. The trail ended at a small clearing. There, sitting in the dirt, was my broken candy cauldron, filled again, overflowing with candy. And next to it, that same clown mask, propped upright on a stick, staring straight at me. I turned and ran. When I called the police the next day, they searched the woods and found nothing. No candy, no bowl, no footprints. But one of the officers pulled an old missing persons flyer from his folder. It showed a boy in a clown costume, missing since Halloween night, 1968. Every Halloween since, someone leaves a single candy bar on my porch. Always the same brand. Always untouched. I never eat them. I just throw them away and lock every door. Because one year, I forgot. And when I woke up the next morning, there were muddy fingerprints on every window in my house. If these stories made you check your locks twice tonight, you're not alone. Halloween isn't just a holiday. It's when the quiet streets remember what walks after dark. So before you sleep, look outside once more, just to be sure you're really alone. And if you want more true horror stories like this, make sure you hit subscribe, drop a comment with your creepiest Halloween memory, and share this video with someone who thinks Halloween is all fun and games. Because the next true story might just be yours.